So, folks, let's talk a little bit more about Hasan Piker. Now, for those of you who are keeping track, I made a video maybe about a week ago or so about how essentially the opening shot of the establishment Democrats against the progressives in this current cycle, the opening shot of this Democrat civil war that has been brewing over the last couple years. And for the very reason that I have been encouraging you guys to show up at your local Democratic Party meetings, to show up at and organize with your local DSA, the very reason I've been telling you guys to do this is because the establishment Democrats, they don't want to give up power. They are not going to do so willingly or easily. And so one of the things that they are trying to do and have been, reaching for is some kind of wedge issue that they can use to differentiate themselves from, the progressive left. And what they have chosen to do, at least in their initial move, is to target Hasan Piker. Hasan, for those of you who don't know, is a streamer. He's a very large streamer. And he is maybe one of the biggest, Joe Rogan of the left contenders out there that can potentially mobilize quite a few people. And his popularity, I think, troubles the Democratic Party because Hasan does things like go to Cuba and talk about the oppression of Cuba at the hands of U.S. imperialism. Hasan Piker's Jack's day shift. Hasan does okay. I can't read that comment out loud. All right, but basically, Hasan has been doing the work. He's been showing up. He's been organizing, and he has also been running alongside different candidates to help them get elected. Right now, he's running and stumping for Abdul Saeed in Michigan, and I think it's been going relatively well. But establishment Democrats hate this. They hate this with a passion. The idea that there could be someone outside of the establishment Democrat control who could get young, passionate people involved in politics, that is not really to their liking. And so what they're trying to do right now is bury him, and along with him, any kind of enthusiasm or mainstream acceptance of him within the Democratic Party. Which isn't to say that that would end what Joe Rogan, what Hasan Piker is doing, just so far as it would attempt to cut him off from having further direct interactions with, potentially electable folks in the Democratic Party, or helping to push people into primaries, stuff like that, right? And that's a big problem. And so I know when Dems said they wanted a Joe Rogan on the left, they actually don't, because they couldn't control a real Joe Rogan of the left. Not gonna lie. They may just be upset that Hasan is so handsome. That was a joke. If it wasn't clear, they invited him to the DNC. Yeah, I mean, they've been trying to figure out a way to make him useful to establishment Democrats, but I think it's become increasingly clear that he's not going to be. And so in an effort to bury him, establishment Dems have been turning to different media outfits. And in particular, I'm thinking of, in this case, The Bulwark, in order to try and bury Hasan. Of course, The Bulwark here ran a piece, Why Democrats Should Shun Hasan Piker. They shouldn't repeat the GOP's mistake, right? Important to note here that The Bulwark is largely populated by, neoliberal shills and quasi-conservatives, who have been ostracized by the MAGA movement for one reason or another. In particular, most of the main people at The Bulwark are essentially never Trumpers. They are people who came up as Republican consultants and have been, rightfully find the MAGA movement and Donald Trump repugnant. However, that doesn't mean they stopped being conservative. It just means they stopped having a home within the GOP, right? And so, Paladin Lost, thank you for the $5
I think
dono.
part of the reason the neo-libs hate Hasan is that Harry Sisson and Dean Withers have done a pretty shit job of mobilizing the youth vote, and people like Hasan and Kat Abu-Ghazala succeed.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Harry Sisson and Dean Withers get a lot of views on YouTube by talking fast and, like, having, like, a decent grasp of rhetoric. But, like, I don't know how much that translates into actual action. Maybe it helps foster, like, the correct ideas, or some of the correct ideas with major caveats. But I don't know that it actually mobilizes people to do anything, right? And that's kind of the disconnect. And for those of you who are asking who, because I see a couple of you in chat, they are kind of like the up and coming, like, baby-faced liberal guys. If you've seen, like, just like, I don't know, this is Harry Sisson. Like, he's a content creator. Dean Withers, I think, might be more recognizable because he's been on Jubilee a few times. I don't know. I'm trying to find a picture of him that's doesn't feel like I'm trying to dunk on him. I don't know. I'll just use this video from his Jubilee appearance. Look, I don't want to be too mean to either of these men, but, like, Dean Withers in particular got, like, his own write-up in the New York Times. Could this 20-year-old be the one of the Democrats' bro whisperers? And, like, I don't think so. Maybe. But all I gotta say, right, is that my problem isn't with how they look. My problem isn't how young they are. My problem is that their content doesn't seem really geared towards actually getting people to do anything. Yeah, Adam Mockler has more clout, but, like, when we're talking about, like, clout, that's not the same as getting people to do stuff, right? Like, having more clout just means you've been in front of more people. You've been on more, like, CNN panels. And Adam Mockler's been on a lot of CNN panels, And, like, I just don't think that, like, when we're talking about actual political engagement, your online clout is necessarily the same thing as how actively political you can get people to be, right? Because, not to, like, throw myself into the ring here, but, like, we have a particularly anomalous community here that we've built where I'm expressly advocating for you in every single video that I put out, every single part of my messaging on purpose is oriented towards telling you guys, get involved. Get involved, not because you believe in, like, some kind of, like, supremacy of, like, Democrats in, like, a team sport sense, but because you can use the Democrats to push farther left, more progressive, pro-working class policies. You can use this as a tool to make your communities better, healthier, more successful, etc. And, like, when I tell you guys to organize, that is by design. It is an important component of what we do here. And I want you guys, and, I got, join your local Dems, join your local DSA if you need help doing that. We have people in this community who organize with DSA, who organize with the local Democrats, and for more progressive policy to get more pro-working class stuff passed and normalized throughout the Democratic Party. We have the people who can help onboard you into your local Democrats. And that's what I really want. I want us to, as a community, as, like, people who just believe in good, pro-working class, common sense policy that leaves no one behind, to organize in our communities. Because I believe in the decency, the fundamental decency of our communities and of people. And so if you need help getting involved with your local Democrats, join our Discord. Reach out to Dragonfly in our Discord. Or if you don't want to join the Discord, you can head over to riverboat.gg and talk to Dragonfly right here in that chat. Okay? And if you want to get involved with your local DSA, join our Discord. Reach out to Gamergy for help joining any of your local DSAs or even forming your own DSA. And if you don't want to join the Discord, you can head over to riverboat.gg and we'll help you do that. And in the future, I would love to build like something that can help make that process easier for you guys. But in the meantime, like we have some of the basic mechanisms here to get people involved. And that is the big jump, right? The big jump is going from just knowing what the correct positions might be or what the pro-working class positions are and jumping into the realm of making those real. And so that's kind of where I'm at. I want to make this a better world. And I'm not content with just letting you guys know what I think the right things are. I want to give you guys the tools to go out and make that happen for yourselves, to put it into practice and see the lives in your community get better for real, right? And I think that basically, I mean no ill will towards folks like Dean Withers or Harry Sisson or Adam Mockler, but I don't know that what they are doing necessarily is doing anything other than perhaps teaching some members of their audience different outlooks, useful information. But I don't know that that translates into making a leap, because I know that like when I was younger, there was a certain appeal in debates where you establish intellectual dominance, and it makes knowing the right stuff feel cool. But I don't think knowing the right stuff is the same as doing the right stuff. And I know I'm kind of talking in circles here, so I hope all of that is making sense. But this Bulwark piece, I think that like the Democrats are upset that they can't control Hasan. That much is clear to me, right? And well, zero of those little baby leftists ever mention a word about Israel, by the way. Well, in Madbox, that's absolutely because they're being sponsored by the mainstream establishment Democratic Party. Part of the reason you're starting to see them pop up everywhere, I believe, I don't have insider confirmation of this, but I believe it's because they are playing ball with the DNC. They are playing ball with the money from a lot of these pro-Democratic Party super PACs, etc. Right? And so, yeah, they're all on chorus. Yeah. And so like the message is being controlled in that way. Yeah, none of these guys are leftists in the way that you and I would use that word. They are the left as in safe establishment liberals. That's it. Right? All that being said, in a time where like our major enemy is fascism, I will take those guys over the fascist. However, what we're talking about in this circumstance is the war brewing within the Democratic Party between the progressive left and the establishment, more conservative part of the Democrats, right? And so, yeah, Dean Withers cried over Charlie. It's a whole fucking thing. But I'm not here to nitpick these boys. All right. My main point here is I want to talk about specifically this Bulwark piece, because Hasan, the far left streamer, is having a bit of a moment. More accurately, the Democratic Party is having a bit of a moment with him, which obliges those of us in the pro-democracy but only instrumentally pro-democratic camp to think about him too. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is you're kind of giving it away
we should
here.
Note that the author, Mona
right?
Charen, is a former Reagan staffer who advocates for Israel often. The Bulwark hasn't gotten one even neolib to comment on Hasan.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing I was trying to make at the top of this segment, which is that, like, the people who are writing these articles are just straight up conservatives. Like, not even, like, fronting about that, not even like painting with a broad brush. Like, these are honest to God lifelong conservatives, right? And they're not even like hiding it. Well, I'm pro-democracy, but only kind of in a utilitarian sense, pro-democratic
wild
party.
how all the establishment shills are musical fans, as they're non-stop pushing a chorus line.
Sake Tanuki with the zingers. Very much appreciated. But what kind of opinionator is Piker? He said in August 2019 that the United States deserved 9/11. When someone challenged him online about his anti-Israel rants in October of 2023, Piker replied with vituperate. I've never encountered this word before. Vituperation. You fucking baying pig, you fucking bloodthirsty violent pig dog. In the same stream as his 9/11 remark, Piker praised the Al-Qaeda terrorist who disfigured Representative Dan Crenshaw. What the fuck is wrong with this dude? Didn't he go to war and like literally lose his eye because some mujahideen, a brave fucking soldier, fucked his eye hole with their dick? Can I just pause and say, like, the pearl clutching that goes on about the things that Hasan has said is wild to me, especially because like you can go back and you can look at like the actual full context of these clips, and you know, to be fair, some of them are just like, you know, they don't land well with me when I read them on the face of it. But also, every single one of these outlets, I even referenced it at the top of the show. Every single one of these outlets was talking about how Democrats need a Joe Rogan of the left. They need a Joe Rogan of the left. Have any of these people ever watched Joe Rogan? Have any of these people ever once written like these think pieces about how Democrats need to like distance themselves from Joe Rogan? Or how Democrats need to distance themselves from Bill Maher? No, actually. These same people who are like, we need a Joe Rogan of the left, like, they don't give a shit when Joe Rogan is talking about how, like, you know, no, people don't need to take vaccines, and like genuinely like contributing to a cultural panic around vaccines in a way that gets people killed. Or when Bill Maher talks about trans kids in the creepiest possible ways. The pearl clutching is unique to Hasan because what they are upset about isn't the things that Hasan has said. What they are interested in is making him seem too scary and too politically toxic to have any association with any kind of political campaign. Their goal is to poison the Hasan well so that no politician can ever use it again. That's it. Full stop. They want to make his brand toxic. That's full stop. Frankly, that would have been enough right there to exclude the person from polite society. Donald Trump has been talking about like being was openly close friends with Jeffrey Epstein for over a decade, has been caught on camera talking about how you can just sexually assault women and they'll let you do it because you're famous. He has been held liable for sexual assault, and like these people will all still show up at the White House Correspondents' Dinner and schmooze with him and his toadies. These people do not give a shit about polite society unless they can use it as a cudgel to try and ostracize someone. Whatever you think of Crenshaw, that kind of inhuman rhetoric is beyond the pale. How quaint, I hear you say. Wait, you know what? Let's just take a quick look here. Here's Dan Crenshaw from earlier tonight. A lot of pearl clutching from the usual suspects online and on the cable news panels about ending civilization. Take a breath. Let's do some critical thinking and pretend like we actually know how President Trump communicates. Should he be taken literally? Like, you should really believe that he's going to vaporize the Persian population? Really? Have you been paying attention for the last 11 years? He says about a president who had his military obliterate a school full of children, killed 165 school kids at an elementary school for girls. Oh, do you really think that the president, the guy with the unilateral ability to launch nuclear weapons, would you think he would really annihilate a country? Yes. This is the guy who had to be talked down from using a nuke on North Korea and trying to blame it on another country. This is a guy who had to be talked down from using nuclear weapons on a hurricane. Oh, this kind of inhuman rhetoric. How dare someone be mean to Dan Crenshaw? The guy who's literally doing apologia right now for the president of the United States threatening to commit a genocide. There's no such thing as polite society anymore. That's how people talk. But stay with me for a minute here. Some of us knew in 2015, and frankly long before that, if we lived in or near New York, that Trump was a sociopath. We knew because he said things that were cruel, crude, and demeaning to other people. The Republican Party and the country had drawn a red line then from mocking a handicapped reporter, making light of rape, disparaging the heroism of John McCain, or vowing to commit war crimes. We would have spared ourselves the current debacle. Everyone, especially those who, like Tim, took a principled stand against Trump, should uphold line drawing. Speaking of making light of rape, Piker did precisely that regarding the conduct of Hamas on October 7th. Even if there were multiple rapes that took place on October 7th, Piker said, this does not change anything for me in this dynamic. And he has said that Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel. You know what? That's such a strange quote to have. What dynamic do you think he was talking about in that quote? What exactly was the dynamic, do you think, that Hasan Piker was talking about? Do you think the dynamic he was talking about was rape? Or do you think perhaps the dynamic was settler colonialism is still wrong even if, like, an oppressed person does a rape? Like, obviously, settler colonialism charged with genocide is still wrong even if you can find people within the targeted population for annihilation, even if you can find some people in that population who did bad things. Genocide is still wrong. Taking the context out of the things he said is deeply dishonest, is deeply abhorrent. And I don't know, the entire article is basically more of this. And we're not going to go through the entire thing because frankly, it's beneath you guys. It's beneath you guys. It's stupid as fuck, and it's just constant, what about this? What about that? And it is entirely dedicated to trying to poison Hasan's brand so he can be of no use to any up-and-coming progressive politician. That's it. And it's so infuriating. But you know what? We're going to take a look instead at two Republican consultants who also happen to work for the Bulwark, debating the Hasan Piker issue. And I think that'll be a good time. Let's take a quick gander here, huh?
It's Tim Mo from the Bulwark here with our publisher, Sarah Longwell. She has a book coming out. I don't know if you heard about that. I wanted to talk about an article that our colleague Lauren Egan wrote. With behind
man, okay, we've got two articles. We got an hour-long debate. Let's go.
The worst part is that there are definite things to not like Hasan over, like diminutive cranianism.
True. Diminutive cranianism, also similar. No, I'm not going to go away. But also, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. And look, I have disagreements with Hasan. I'm not in lockstep with him on every aspect of his foreign policy takes. But I will say that, he is a part of the big tent left progressive space. Left socialist, progressive, communist space. I just really want to point out here, there's a reason why Third Way, a neoliberal lobbyist think tank, is gunning for Hasan. There's a reason why, after Third Way released its think tank piece about why Hasan bad, suddenly the Bulwark is running with it. Suddenly a lot of other mainstream liberal publications are running with this. There's a reason. And some of it might be Israeli money trying to discredit Hasan from his pro-Palestinian positions and his usefulness to up-and-coming anti-genocide candidates for office. But also, there's a reason why this is vibing with a lot of conservatives who have found their way into acceptance within the Democratic Party. and Paladin Lost is absolutely correct. Tim Miller was someone who worked for Jeb Bush. Sarah Longwell was the president of the Log Cabin Republicans. Like, these people are not just like, journalists who happen to be Republican. They are people who have actively worked for conservative political campaigns and conservative legal causes, lobbying causes, etc. Right?
I'm not a big Hasan orbiter or fan, really, and he has said some wrong and inflammatory things, but he's said less inflammatory rhetoric in his career than Trump has in the last 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that this is the thrust right now of these publications, in my mind, is discrediting, right? Right? In my mind, it is discrediting. And it shows that this is, I would argue, an inorganic take. And I would argue has a story that has been planted by people who are trying to get something out of this story going public. It is a story that is trying to be pushed into the mainstream to poison his brand. Yeah, it's sabotage. Exactly, Brutus.
We're back a little bit, so you guys can alert to it if you want. It's called How Big is the Democrats?
Yeah, exactly, Dragonfly. Like, the Dragonfly writes, they are not our friends. They are trying to turn the Dems into neocons. And that is exactly the problem, right? The current conflict within the Democratic Party is not about whether or not Democrats will stay status quo or whether Democrats will go more left as an organization, right? I think that's typically how people formulate this relationship, but that's not what the war is about. The war is actually about whether or not the Democratic Party is going to be taken over by essentially never Trump Republicans and the corporate interests that back them, or if it is going to be responsive to the working class pro-people wing of the party, which is, the lefties, the Democratic Socialists, the Zoran Mamdanis, the Hasan Pikers. And that is the question. It is not whether or not the Democratic Party can just stay the same. It's whether or not they can break even harder conservative in the wake of the Republican Party collapsing into an ultra-fascist far-right party, right? That's the question here. And so when we're talking about this civil war brewing within the Democratic Party, and why I'm talking about this and why I'm expending so much energy on this topic, it's because of why this is happening. The age of establishment Democrats that was perpetuated through 90s neoliberalism, it's dead. We've seen the end result of what the 90s neoliberalism wrought, and it's Donald Trump. It's the co-opting of political power by the wealthy, by the lobbyists, etc. The only way forward here is going towards working class policies and working class people. Jack, I'm begging you, read Longwell's Wikipedia. Wait, what's her first name? Sarah Longwell. A neoconservative political consultant and publisher of the conservative news and opinion website The Bulwark, former member of the Republican Party, founder of the Republican Accountability Project, which spent millions of dollars to defeat then President Donald Trump in 2020 and 2024. She is the senior fellow at the Kettering Foundation, an American nonpartisan research foundation. Believe that. In 2005, 3 years after graduating, after graduation from Kenyon College in 2002, Longwell worked for the Intercollegiate Studies Institute, a conservative group in Delaware. Then in 2005, she got a job with Richard Berman, a Republican lobbyist and PR expert who runs several industry-funded nonprofit lobbying and PR organizations. So basically, she's a lifelong, lobbyist. Also served as a managing director of the American Beverage Institute, a trade association set up by Berman that lobbies on behalf of the alcohol industry, such as by arguing that the risks of drunk driving have been exaggerated and laws that have been adopted to reduce it are ineffective or inappropriate, and opposing the lowering of the blood alcohol concentration limit for driving under the influence in Utah. According to Berman, Sarah always had a knife in her teeth. Holy shit. Oh my god. She was a lobbyist for drunk driving. I've heard of lobbyists for the tobacco industry. I have never heard of somebody who lobbied in favor of drunk driving. The pro DUI ticket. Oh my god. Oh my god. Like, in comparison to that, like, okay, so you've got, on one hand, a streamer who says America deserved 9/11 because he understands the concept of blowback and what was happening in the Middle East, all right? And on the other hand, you've got an actual lobbyist for the drunk driving industry, like, looking down her nose at him. This is fucking crazy. This is never a better example of what I'm talking about in this war within the Democratic Party. You've got a drunk driving lobbyist trying to argue that the real threat to the Democratic Party is a guy who's pro-worker rights and anti-settler colonialism, and definitely not the lifelong lobbyist who runs this network and also has been like an agent in trying to get the worst shit in the world legalized. Cool stuff.
Big tent. And it's centered around this question of the streamer Hasan Piker, who is on the far left. Is he even a Democrat? I think is a question. He's one of DSA. He has a lot of critiques of the Democratic Party that come from the left.
Oh no, not critiques. How will the Democratic Party ever survive critiques? Clearly what we need is blind loyalty. Just remember, folks, blind loyalty. Sponsored by Big Alcohol. Remember, folks, when you're blindly loyal, you're also capable of being blindly drunk. Don't forget, buy alcohol.
Part of the coalition. His critiques of the party are particularly acute when it comes to Israel and their actions in Gaza and our broader military involvement around the world. And the question is, there were some Democrats who are saying that Democrats.
Remember, Big Beer is watching.
Strategists and commentators were saying that the party shouldn't.
Okay. I was going to say, like, make a joke about you should drink and drive. Don't do that. Like, I don't care, not even for the bit. Do not drink and drive.
Associate with Piker, because he has some extreme views. We can debate the extent of this, but he said some things that are either anti-Semitic or anti-Semitic curious or adjacent. And
what the fuck is anti-Semitic curious? God damn.
Questions are whether people should deal with him. So I think that I went long on this topic on the stream last night. For you to be like, now we as the centrist establishment serious types want to exile a far leftist from here because he has some impure thoughts about Israel. It's like,
is he okay? He doesn't seem well in this clip.
All you're doing is making him more powerful. All you're doing is making people think you're a bigger idiot to pick right now to have this fight. And it is truly, it's like madness. Like, the entire country is moving the other direction. We can just be honest. It's moving Hasan's direction on the question of Israel. And you're like, we're going to pick a fight with him on that?
Well, how else is Cory Booker going to run for president? If you don't pick a fight with Hasan, Cory Booker doesn't have a shot with all of his millions and millions of dollars in AIPAC money. It's his turn. Let him try again.
Right now? I don't get it. We did this already 5 years ago where a bunch of liberals were like, you can't go on Joe Rogan. He had some bad opinions. And it's just like, we can't do this shit again. So people can go if they want to hear my full sermon. I did, I think, 20 minutes on this topic last night because it's complicated. And I just want to kind of break this down. Sarah saw all of that, some of that? Some of it?
I saw the whole thing. I watched the whole thing.
Okay, Sarah watched the whole thing. Wow, JVL's going to be jealous. Sarah watched the whole thing, my whole long sermon. And so I just want to set this out. I just kind of want to break it down. There are a bunch of sub-elements to this, right? Like, which is, do I agree with Hasan Piker's politics? Like, I do not. And I went through some of those disagreements. Should people go on Hasan Piker's show? I think yes, we can talk about that. Should Democrats campaign with him? Like, there are differing views on that. Should there be a litmus test somewhere in the party? Like, where should the Democrats
Dead Domain said this guy looks like he's a drunkard in the 1950s movie, and I thought that was so accurate and you would appreciate it. He does look like somebody you would see in the opening scene of a movie, and then like maybe 20 minutes later as a gag would be wearing like a barrel instead of his clothes. You know, and be completely unbothered by it, and it would never be explained, but it would be somehow related to like alcohol. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here.
Draw the line in their big tent. Like, should the tent encompass the entire country, or, you know, should there be poles that if people fall outside those, they shouldn't fit inside the tent? So like, those are kind of, you know, I think sometimes the conversation.
My question is, why does he have a giant framed poster of pinto beans? I haven't been able to get over that. Like, I want to make fun of him a little bit more, but I don't understand the bean poster. You know?
Boy, ending the existential threat to capitalism that is market socialism sure works up a thirst. And when I'm thirsty, I reach for a whole lot of alcohol. My liver and SUV can take it.
You know, if you buy a big enough SUV, you don't even feel it if you hit anybody. Plausible deniability, I say.
Like, all that stuff gets jumbled up into one thing, and you know, my views are different on different sort of sub-bullets. So I just kind of wanted to start there. You watched my whole thing. On which one of those elements do you feel like your disagreement is with me?
So I think I want to start with kind of Hasan Piker, the guy, the stuff he says, and like, who is he? Because
also, of course, since we had a bean sighting, we do need to play.
What? Give me the beans! I must have these beans! Beans? Well, I say, young fellow, did you say something about beans? Magical beans? Some mystical legumes? Well, I'll give you 1,000 gold pieces for it. Magic beans!
Nailed it. Nailed the vibe. Seamless.
Evaluate him is then to evaluate the rest of your questions, right?
Okay,
is should he be in the tent or out of the tent is a question of like, okay, who is this guy? What does he believe? What does he talk about on what is a relatively popular streaming site? And I'll just give you a flavor of some of the things that pop up from Hasan's critics.
My question is, how many of these things, you know what? Actually, wait. Third Way. Hasan Piker. All right. Now, I'm curious. Okay. So we have this article from Third Way, a letter. And in this letter, of course, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different points specifically that Third Way highlights and links to. Let's see how many of these things Sarah Longwell repeats. And I'm wondering if it's going to just be 100%. And that'll be it. I'm wondering how much extra work did Sarah Longwell go to, or if she's just cribbing off of Third Way's notes. You know, I haven't pre-watched this. Genuinely don't know. Let's go.
That I have seen and that I think are quite terrible. So America deserved 9/11, dude. On China, he says, we hyper-focus on the
Okay, America deserved 9/11. There we go.
Social repression or the civil liberties, or not even civil liberties necessarily, but free speech and things like that. But in terms of good governance, there's a lot we can learn from the way they perform out there. At least they get results.
That's number 2. Okay. All right. So far, in the exact order that Third Way presents it in this letter, we have it in the same order so far.
Results, and he has a lot of very pro-China take.
The next one is, do you share the belief that ultra-Orthodox Jews are inbred? Which, again, is not what Hasan was saying, but let's see if we can torture the comparison here.
There's one that he says was a little bit taken out of context, but he says, doesn't matter if the fucking rapes happened on October 7th.
Oh, okay, not the same order, but that is another point on the list. So that's 3.
That doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people can't contend with. Like the Palestinian resistance is not perfect. They're not like so good. They have magical bullets. I don't know what that means. He says Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel.
That's 4.
On Hezbollah, he said, overall, what's my favorite flag? Hezbollah. Look it up. I'm not even kidding.
Okay, that's the first one. The first one. All right, the first one that actually like diverges here. Also, I've never looked up the Hezbollah flag. It looks kind of like the Don't Tread on Me flag. I think it's just the yellow, of course, but like, I'm not gonna lie. There's some graphic design talent going on there.
It's actually a dope flag. It's got an AK on it and a fucking hand holding it up. On Dan Crenshaw losing an eye. And
I'm sorry. I missed the rest of the quote. That was great.
Got an AK on it. Hezbollah. Look it up. I'm not even kidding. It's actually a dope flag. It's got an AK on it and a fucking hand holding it up. On Dan Crenshaw losing.
Oh my god.
Flag. And he said, overall, what's my favorite flag? Hezbollah. Look it up. I'm not even kidding. It's actually a dope flag. It's got an AK on it. And
like he's even laughing. He knows this isn't serious. Come on, man. If you're why Tim, if this is a really big deal, you have to be serious. Okay? Seriousness demands seriousness.
Fucking hand holding it up. On Dan Crenshaw losing an eye in Afghanistan. What the fuck is wrong with this dude? I also dislike Dan Crenshaw, but I would not.
Okay, second thing not listed. However, it was in the article that they posted. So maybe she's reading off the article. That could very well be. I'm still waiting for the comment about inbreeding. It's the only one we're missing right now. We've got everything else on the third way list except for inbreeding. So keep an eye out for inbreeding if you're playing along at home, okay?
Not say this. Didn't he go to war and like literally lose his eye because of some mujahideen, a brave fucking soldier, fucked his eye hole with their dick? On Israel being full of inbreds. You are left.
There we go. We did it. We did it, everyone. I wish I had a celebratory noise.
Perfect.
I mean, that's just not, that doesn't really convey the victory idea, you know? Well, you know, I've got a lot of soundboards here. You know what? This will be the victory song right now.
Go woke, go broke, 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 go woke, go broke.
There we go. You need the fa sound? Yeah.
A country that is packed to the fucking gills.
Look at him. He's still trying not to laugh. Look at him.
Being full of inbreds. You are left with a country that is packed to the fucking gills with the
look at him trying to suppress his laugh.
I feel like thinking a flag with an AK on it is bad ***** is not nearly as bad as being a drunk driving lobbyist.
Yeah, no kidding. Literally nothing she has said is as bad as trying to ensure there are a maximum number of drunk drivers on the road, which was her literal job.
Most inbred, uneducated, ultra-nationalist, rabid, Haredi population on Russia's annexation of Crimea. Annexation of Crimea was absolutely a justifiable annexation. What do you call Crimea? I call it part of Russian territory, bitch.
That is something that I would say I vehemently disagree with Hasan about. I disagree with him about Ukraine, and I disagree with him about Taiwan. Those are my two big geopolitical disagreements with him.
Call it Crimea River, a Russian river. The annexation of Crimea was absolutely a justifiable annexation on black people.
Wait, before we get to black people, what is this? God, it's such a, it's several seconds of silence. Then, maybe. I was thinking about something like a little bit longer, but maybe we could do that.
Black people care about the border. I don't give a fuck what black people care about. Black people care about this. Black people care about that. Like, shut the fuck up. That's not how politics work. And then, I don't know if this is I don't know how to, I'm not going to rank these, but this one's a real doozy. Date rape is better if it happens to rich women. if you have these fucking millionaire, billionaire WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only do date rape to other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is in some respects, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better. Okay, Piker told off a listener who condemned the massacre on October 7th,
I'm sorry, is this all, being sourced from, the Ethan Klein subreddit? Is that where this is coming from? Wait, her source is the Washington Free Beacon for this? Oh my god. Okay. So, rape seems to be a recurring theme on Piker's Twitch show. As far as I know, that's not true. In one episode, he proposed sending...
Either this or the milk flawless victory.
I will take a look at that in a second. Thank you for the 5 tier 1 sub, Socket Tanuki. Proposed sending wealthy college students to the same handful of colleges so that rich college men will end up committing date rape solely against rich college women. That would be a little bit better than Piker's view that wealthy college men are raping poorer middle-class female students. If you have these fucking millionaire, billionaire WASP fail sons, at least taking them out of other colleges so they can only date rape other billionaire, millionaire failed daughters is in some respects, from a utilitarian perspective, of course, a little bit better. Taking these guys and putting them in a pen with one another is ultimately going to get them away from the broader society. I understand what he's trying to say, but also, that's not a solution to, date rape. What he's saying is that oftentimes, wealthy men at college predate on on more vulnerable women, right? And so, especially more vulnerable women that have less resources to defend themselves. And so, from a utilitarian... Yeah, he's doing an edgy utilitarianism. And, I get it. It's still pretty abhorrent to me. But I understand the argument. Disagree with it, but understand it.
Bloodthirsty, violent pig dog, suck my dick. Okay, so that's the guy. That's the guy. I do not think any Democrat should look to include him in their coalition.
Why should any Democrat look to include you, a drunk driving lobbyist, in their coalition? Why should you, someone whose job it was to get kids drunk and on the road, why should any Democrat include you in their coalition? Where is your high ground here, ma'am? On the one hand, you got a guy who's saying some, dubious things on his online show. On the other hand, you've got someone who used institutional power to the tune of millions of dollars to try and ply politicians to make it easier for kids to kill themselves while using the products you were pushing. Why should any Democrat seek a coalition with you?
And here's the thing. You mentioned my book at the top. I just wrote a whole book that is going to come out in September. It is 300 pages. It's called How to Eat an Elephant One Voter at a Time. It is 300 pages about how you build a...
Written entirely with ChatGPT.
...winning coalition. There's not a single paragraph that recommends cozying up to people like Hasan Piker. I talk a lot about big tents. I talk a lot about a pro-democracy coalition. But here's the thing. Hasan Piker doesn't actually belong in the pro-democracy coalition. He's an illiberal guy. He's a China-Russia sympathizer who hates women, hates Israel. He's all the toxic things. And I think, and I was listening to you last night, and I was like, I think my biggest problem with it, because I agree with you in some places.
I might be going out on a limb here, but I think it's okay to hate a country that's doing a genocide. I think it's okay to hate and have heavy criticism for a country that is perpetrating a genocide.
My biggest problem with this is I felt like you were soft selling who this guy is. At one point, I think you called it impure thoughts or something.
Well, this is one of my defenses of Piker, which is also a defense of myself, is that if you're streaming 8 hours a day, I feel like the critics that sometimes look at an 8-word snippet of something somebody says, I'm like, you fucking talk for 8 hours a day. I just talked for 1 hour a day last night, and I rewatched that video and saw impure thoughts, and that's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that, you just talk for a long time, and
yeah, but
and
you don't
anyway.
You don't accidentally say America deserved 9/11.
No. He had some very bad takes in there too. He had he has some really bad ones for sure.
Can I push back on this idea though? They're not takes. this guy has a worldview that
I would
I know
love.
phrenology is a debunked pseudoscience, but this duo looks like they're central casting from a conservative podcast.
They do have the conservo vibes. They have conservo vibes up the wazoo. Also, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. And I just remembered I got to look at your link. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you, Sake. This is the kind of victory fanfare I was looking for. Thank you.
is anathema to liberal democracy. It's not that we just disagree with his politics. I think his
like, what worldview are you taking an issue with? Like, for example, I take an issue with this lady's worldview where she views it as her job to bribe politicians into prioritizing different industries that they wouldn't otherwise do, and pervert the representative nature of the government. And I take an issue with a world where your money can buy political power, which is the entire basis of how she has built her entire career. Like, I take an issue with that. I think it's wrong. I think it's bad. I think, like, money in politics has, like, effectively strangled our democracy. And she got prominent off of that. She was able to found this entire publication that she's publishing this video through right now, like, off of that. And I'm curious what her issues are with his worldview specifically, because so far we have cherry-picked statements, but, like, what is his worldview that you are taking an issue with? Third Way is funded by the rich. Third Way is funded by millionaires and billionaires and a variety of different companies. Yes.
Worldview is gross, and the way he talks about people is disgusting. And so, like, I think he is all of the things.
I mean, I will say, again, I don't watch a lot of Hasan content, but I will say, I think that the people that he denigrates them because he doesn't like them and he disagrees with them. You know? I don't think I've ever heard Hasan, like, talk about the people he likes in hateful ways. But I think I have heard him talk about, you know, Republicans who are cheering on a fucking potential genocide of Iranians. You know, I can see him very easily being incredibly mean towards those people. And, you know, to a degree, they deserve it. They like, there are people in this world that you owe no niceties to. And people cheering on genocide is that's one of those categories of people. You have forfeited polite society, as far as I'm concerned, the second you are out there, you know, championing a genocide.
That I think you were being too hard on sort of the third way types who are condemning him, because he is condemnable. And I think it is important. You and I spent a long time when I was on your podcast trying to take our longtime reflexive pro-Israel stances and kind of wrestle with that now in this new world. And I'm up for wrestling with that. And I do, one of the things that is scary about wrestling with that is that there's a bunch of people on the I'm against this war, I'm against Israel's involvement in this war, who do it for anti-Semitic reasons. And I think disaggregating from those people as you criticize this war is absolutely essential.
Man, the idea that Hasan is doing this because he's an anti-Semite, when you've got Tucker Carlson openly engaging in blood libel, like every damn show he does, when you've got Candace Owens openly embracing blood libel as, like, a normal part of her show, when you've got Nick Fuentes, when you've got, like, Alex Jones, like, are you kidding me? Like, hell, like, the talking point in mainstream conservative circles right now is all about how the globalists are taking over. Globalist is a dog whistle for Jew. Here in America, like, that's when they're talking about the globalists are taking over, that's the anti-Semite dog whistle for Jewish people. Wait until you hear her take on Tucker. Oh, I bet that her entire take on Tucker Carlson is that he's totally cool and fine. I bet that she is totally cool with Tucker Carlson for strange reasons. No problem with what Tucker Carlson talks about as he vilifies immigrants and like absolutely uses the opportunity to be as anti-Semitic as possible while garnering more and more conservative support. Yeah, same when they invoke George Soros. Exactly. The idea that George Soros is pushing a left-wing agenda in this country. Like, I'm sorry. It's just not a widespread problem or a widespread thing.
From a moral standpoint.
This is, I think, the crux. Yeah, this I think is the crux.
I do not consent to this woman's humiliation kink. It's okay. She's getting paid.
Of the deal. Because, as I said last night, I argued with Hasan about China on and off stage. Like I argued with Hasan about his focus.
You got your Soros check yet? Nah, never once. Never once. Must be all backed up in the mail.
On Israel on stage. And I think that he is a liberal, and I think that if Hasan was running for Congress or president,
you think he is illiberal?
Illiberal, I do, and I think that if he was running for one of those things, I would oppose him. And I think that probably, I think it's very unlikely that me and Hasan will have the same preferred candidates in the Democratic 2028 campaign. If we do, that candidate will end up being very adept at navigating our very fracture. So who the hell knows what the future holds? But like, I don't like it. I don't like his worldview, and I think that it is worth objecting to. And I think it's worth people like us objecting to and hashing it out and fighting with him about it and arguing about a lot of the things that he thinks that are bad. I also just think that, two things. One, people that consume him hear that list and are like, that doesn't mesh with the guy I know, right? And I think that if you came up with my 10 worst takes, they would not sound as bad as his list or anywhere near as bad, I don't think. But especially if you go back to 2004, I have some pretty bad takes going all the way back, okay? So I just mean, if you put my list together, I think a lot of bulwark people would be like, guy, like, you're being unfair, right? And because I think that there are a lot of areas where he is genuine, that he cares about stuff, human rights. And again, I don't watch this on day to day, but I hearing this from other people, I think they would say, wait a minute, you're trying to turn him into like Tucker or somebody whose whole show is about anti-Semitism.
I do try to push leftism, even if these idiots want to demonize that.
Oh, God. This is, can I just say, also Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs and all of the support. But can I just say, this is way stupider than I thought this was going to be going in. Yeah, Marocat, his attack on Dylan Burns was shitty as fuck. Dylan does good shit. I'm weirded out by Tim Miller being oddly normal. Yeah, it is.
I wonder what their take on Engels would be.
Well, I too am interested in their Engels angle. Or, sorry, their angles. Fuck me. Damn it. I fucked it up. Ah, damn it. Tim, I was not expecting Tim to be the normal one of these two. I gotta be honest. Wait, what happened to Dylan? Oh, Hasan said some, like, shitty stuff about Dylan Burns. Called him a war profiteer or something. I don't pay a lot of attention to, like, other folks, but like that was shitty.
Semitism right now, but like he talks a lot about making sure people can get a living wage and human rights around the world and how we should care about rights for people.
So does Tucker.
Okay, fine.
No, what the fuck? Oh God, she's so excited to defend Tucker Carlson. It's almost comedic. Fuck. That was genuinely. I was not expecting her to be so enthusiastic about it.
I'm just telling you what people would say about him. I think that I do think that it is a category difference. A lot of people who are criticizing me about the stream last night were trying to lump it in with like, I thought you left Trump. And I was like, no, Trump had a lot of noxious views and then he ran for president, tripling down on them and being like, hey, here are all my worst views. And like, I think that we.
Also, for the record, Engels was cool as fuck. Marx gets all the credit, but Engels was cool too.
We should institute them as policy. Some of the things you laid out, I think Hasan would agree with. Some of those things, if you read the profiles of him, he's backed off on, particularly.
He says he does not apologize for any of them. He was just taken out of context. He's like, I don't take any of them back. I don't walk any of them back, but maybe they were taken out of context.
Okay, well, maybe I'd have to listen to that. I guess I just would say that holistically, it is a category difference for me that from what you hear from MAGA. All of that aside, though, because we can take the measure of the man, and you can decide that he's a wholly unacceptable man, and I can say that he's a man that has some bad views, and we can hash that out. The strategic question, the analytical question, right? Yep. Is how Democrats should handle somebody like that. Yep. And this is where I'm the harshest on the view that he should be kicked out. And I'm particularly harsh, and I said this last night, and this relates to your point about Israel, about picking this fight with him right now. At this moment today, April 3rd of 2026. Because right now we are embroiled in a catastrophic war that the Secretary of State said we did because Israel got us into it. So you can call that a conspiracy theory or whatever, but the Secretary of State said it, and the president has basically said it, though he does word salad a bunch of times. And I just think that any fair analyst could look at it and say, well, obviously this war is more in Israel's acute interest than ours. That's just a statement of fact, right? So we're in this war with our partner Israel right now on the heels of their behavior in Gaza, however you want to describe that, whether it's genocide or ethnic cleansing or war crimes or just.
I mean, I feel like it's pretty clearly a genocide. They've been systematically eliminating the entire population, forcing them to move around the entire enclave, not allowing them to leave, denying them food, basic necessities, etc. Yeah.
More killing than was necessary. Anywhere on that continuum, this comes after that. Now we've partnered with them for a war in Iran that is going to create massive damage globally to people's lives. People are going to be materially harmed by this war. They already are. And there are a lot of people out there in this country right now who are really mad about that.
Laura Ingalls Wilder, Marquis Puprecker, the potential of a Little House on the Prairie Marx Engels crossover is genuinely inspired. Laura Ingalls Wilder. Oh my god. I'm sorry, I just need to sit with that idea for a second. Because, Little House on the Prairie books were written to push libertarian ideology, right? And I gotta say, reworking them with, a class consciousness in mind, where, Laura Ingalls and her good partner, Carl, they get together and begin analyzing labor conditions on the prairie. I don't know. I think it has some potential. Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't know this, yeah, I know this is a total sidetrack now. But here's from PBS, right? The subtle libertarian politics of Laura Ingalls Wilder's Little House books. Okay, one of the biggest was her working partnership with daughter Rose Wilder Lane, who, for whatever reason, the women choose to keeps hidden from the world. The collaboration was only confirmed years later by historians, combing through a trove of letters between the two. The correspondence not only revealed the extent of Lane's hand in editing and structuring her mother's writing, but also their shared political views. Those views invariably made their way into the 8-book series for children, although most young readers probably haven't observed the subtle political messaging. Wilder first conceived of the Little House series in her mid-60s during the time of the Great Depression. The first novel, Little House in the Big Woods, was published in 1932, the same year Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected to the White House. Soon after taking office, FDR set about enacting a series of financial reforms and public projects and programs designed to help pull Americans out of economic devastation and expand the government's role in the economy, much to Wilder's despair. I think Laura Ingalls Wilder's early poverty and deprivation in some ways challenged her to work hard, use her talents, and give 120% effort to edge them into the middle class, somewhat security, said biographer and historian William Anderson, who authored the selected letters of Laura Ingalls Wilder. The Little House book stressed self-responsibility, community operation, taking care of one's needs, oneself, and with those goals, a person could be free and independent, he said. They were both sort of physically ill over FDR and the New Deal, said Christine Woodside, author of Libertarians on the Prairie. They felt that it was just really inappropriate response to hard times. They'd seen hard times. Why did the government want to help people? And Laura thought that everybody was starting to whine in response to the New Deal. She couldn't stand it. It made her sick. These politics were on full display in this 1934 letter that Wilder wrote to a books editor at Harper's. The Lord give me patience. How exasperating a bunch of communists in Washington can be. I suppose all we can do is await their pleasure. Give them time enough, and they will put us all on the federal payroll or the relief. So, the Little House on the Prairie books were written by libertarians, free market libertarians, the ANCAP types, and yeah. According to the New Yorker, Lane wrote in one particular diary entry that America has a dictator and prayed for the president's assassination. In a 1936 essay for the Saturday Evening Post, she declared, "I am now a fundamentalist American," because she hated FDR so much and really wanted everyone to go back to being self-reliant like the good old days when people suffered and died. I don't know. I feel like I did some harm here with this one. So let's just move on.
Yeah. And they're about to get really madder in the coming months. And I think a lot of them look at they blame Trump, but they also look at the Democratic Party and be like, you guys have been on this too. Joe Biden was in there when Israel was doing the Gaza thing. The Democrats have been, part of this bipartisan establishment that got us into these stupid wars forever. And they look around for people. And who do they see out there saying, no, we should not do these wars. They're stupid. They're wrong. They see people like Hasan. And so in this moment where people are very bad, a lot of voters that when you say how to eat an elephant one at a time, a lot of voters Democrats are going to need, whether they be young voters or men who don't want to go to war or people whose costs are going to go up. Like right now, at this moment, a lot of them are assessing the landscape and they're saying like, fuck, Trump betrayed me. Like I thought I was on board with the no wars candidate. Okay. And they're gettable right now. I get as ripe as they have ever been to be gotten by the Democratic Party. And in this moment, the Democratic Party and their leaders should be focused, in my view, on being as clear and loud and passionate as possible. No stupid wars. I will not get you involved in this. This is a mistake. To the extent that Israel is involved, the fact that our relationship is closely tied to them is a mistake. And if we ever get back in power, we will not betray you. We hear you. We see this.
And honestly, Democrats are failing in this regard. Democrats need to be out there treating this like they are campaigning actively, right? And I think that's part of the issue, is that a lot of Democrats don't want to be campaigning, because campaigning is vulnerability. It's taking risks. It is communicating openly, honestly, and loudly. And Chuck Schumer doesn't want to do that. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't want to do that. They don't want to, you are a senator, not just a senator. You are the minority leader of the Senate. You can call a press conference at literally any time and make an issue about any damn thing you please. You can call out the food at your Michelin star restaurant for being shitty if you want to in a press conference. You can just do that. You have the platform to do that. Why Democrats are not making an eternal circus out of every single time they are in front of a camera and pointing fingers at the Trump administration, loudly berating it for failing the American people. Honestly, they should be taking a page out of the Roman Senate. Carthage delenda est. Carthage must be destroyed. Carthage must be destroyed. Carthage must be destroyed. Carthage must be destroyed. It was said so many different times that eventually Rome went and destroyed Carthage and salted its fields. And in this case, we're asking for something much simpler than waging one war against a much a huge power like Carthage. What we're asking for is just stop the war. Stop trying to occupy domestic cities with ICE. Just stop. It's a very simple demand, and one should be able to make it every damn day.
The Senate.
Sake, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. What is this?
Oh, fellow members of
Yes.
the Roman Senate, hear me. Shall we continue to build palace after palace for the rich? Or shall we aspire to a more noble purpose and build decent housing for the poor? How does the Senate vote?
Fuck the poor!
That does kind of seem to be about the gist of it, doesn't it? You know?
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
What now, you all got a little bit too rowdy there by saying fuck the poor so loudly. You should be saying it in a much more room-based tone. Like, just say it in a more, talking volume. Fuck the poor. Try that, okay? Don't stand up when you say it. That's a little too flashy, okay? Just say fuck the poor without getting so aroused.
People are aroused. I haven't seen people so aroused in a very, very long time.
What film was that? That was History of the World Part 1.
Instead, you hear a lot of
Great
Democratic leaders being like, well, we should kick this guy out. That's what he's known for. Like, if he's known for anything, it's being anti this stuff. And it's like, what? We're picking this fight with him now? I'm just like, I could think of 1,000 other things I would rather Democrats pick fights about now. Like, why him right now?
Because he's making their life harder. It is people like Hasan
They're making their life harder.
Hold on. People like Hasan are making Democrats who want to take a stand against this war, right? And who want to probably take a stand against the way that Trump is just sort of like, doing whatever Bibi tells him. They're trying to figure out how to do it in a way where they don't imperil the safety of Jewish people in this country. They're trying to do it.
I'm sorry. Hasan being anti-war makes it harder for Democrats to be anti-war? I don't know. Seems to me like if you give more of a damn about like what Hasan says than about being anti the slaughter of innocents, it kind of tells you where the priorities of that politician are. I guess. Like, when I make my political positions known, I'm not like, but what does Hasan think about that political policy? Have I run it by the Hasan filter yet? Like, I don't know, maybe actually believing in things would be more useful than whatever the fuck this is.
In a way that is, they don't want to be anti-Semitic. And I'll tell you why Hasan is so dangerous is that what it does is
I don't want to hear a peep about Jewish safety from someone who plays defense for Tucker fucking Carlson. Yeah.
Exactly what Trump does. It's exactly what Nick Fuentes does and Tucker does. It takes maybe legitimate rage about something, and then it gives them an enemy to put it on. It gives them an out group to blame for it. And I think.
Yeah, but in this case, like in the case of like Tucker Carlson, it's like Tucker Carlson will put the blame on Nick Fuentes will put the blame on Jews. Tucker Carlson will find a way to try and make it seem like he's not blaming Jews, but he'll blame Jews, right? Because Tucker Carlson is anti-Semitic as fuck. I'm pretty sure Hasan puts the blame on the rich and the corporations.
You have to be so careful with that so that you're not doing that, which starts with condemning the people who hold the same position as you for reasons that are bad, for reasons that are hostile to Jews.
Here's where I disagree. Totally disagree. It starts with condemning the fucking war.
Oh my God, I'm agreeing with Tim Miller. Fuck me. But yes, you start from your place of principles. Like, if you are more cowardly about what other people may say about you because you have principles, then you instead choose inaction, you never had principles in the first place.
Condemning Israel and condemning Bibi and condemning Trump and being passionate and clear about it. Because then what happens? Then, if you have the credibility then with the voters who were anti-war voters, who were unhappy about the way that they see the bipartisan establishment, and they thought Trump was going to be their savior from this, that there was some blob in D.C., and no matter which party is in charge, we all get into stupid wars. They thought Trump was their way out of this. And now they're like, Trump's doing the same shit that all the other ones did that we said we didn't want it. He's doing it worse. And so now if the Democrats go to those people and go on those shows, they should be on those shows. Democrats should be begging Joe Rogan or Theo, whoever, to have them on right now. They should be on Manosphere shows being like, I told you, this was stupid. I didn't want to do this. This war is dumb. Our relationship with Israel is too tight. We should be reevaluating it. We should not be getting dog walked into this war. By the way, MBS also sucks, right? Like, you can do that in a way that's not anti-Semitic because it's what has happened. Like, it's happened. And so if they did that, and then in 5 months, they're like, you know what? Okay, look at this though. Like, you guys, we cannot, be shoulder to shoulder with somebody as this view or that view, or we have to then you have the credibility.
Why is there a 5-month gap? Why can't it be in the same breath? I think it should, because here's the point. I do agree with you that nature abhors a vacuum, right? Like, part of what is happening is that there is a desperate anger over this war from a lot of people that feel betrayed by Donald Trump, that don't want any more foreign wars in the Middle East. And like, it's not about Israel. Like, for some people it is about Israel. For some people it is about anti-Semitism. Those are different. And then there's just a lot. I think the vast majority of people are just mad we're doing this again. And so, like, Democrats should be condemning it. They should be outspoken. They should be the one to try to gain a following by talking about this. But I think in doing so, they should separate themselves from people like Hasan. I don't think you have.
The argument has not been made effectively here that he is an anti-Semite. It's pretty clear to me, as just like someone who casually has seen some Hasan segments or videos on YouTube, that he's not an anti-Semite, and that he is very clearly commenting on Israel as a state and its policies as a government and the actions it takes in war. And like that, those are all fair things to criticize. And to compare that to what the kind of gutter anti-Semitic racism that people like Alex Jones or Tucker Carlson or Nick Fuentes engage in, like, I don't know, the fact that you're putting Hasan's name out there instead of any one of those, or I don't know, I think it speaks a lot to what's actually going on here.
Have to wrap your arms around him. I don't think
he has credibility, and they don't on this though. And
so they should go get credibility themselves.
They
don't need to borrow it from him.
I'm not telling you. I'm not saying they should borrow for it. I never said. Again, here's the disagreement. I never said I think Democrats should campaign with him. I disagree with that.
I don't think they should go on his show.
I think you don't think they should go on his show.
Hasan's? No.
Oh my God, that we could not disagree more. Oh my God, the people that watch Hasan's show are not terrible. The regular people. A lot of people watch. They're going to watch this video. Watch Hasan's show. I hear from them. I saw them on the street.
Genuinely, I'm just so curious. Like, should anyone be on a show with her? I don't know. Can we look at her Wikipedia page again? Just taking a look here. Some of her past work. This is from 2008. Phony Drunk Driving Stats by Sarah Longwell. Drunken driving stories like those in the July 16th Daily News, vehicle device thwarts DUI offenders, and losing control, Philly beset by high rate of drunken driving, make headlines every day. Groups like MADD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, relentlessly remind Americans that the abuse of alcohol continues to be a huge problem on our roadways, and as a result, the most drastic measures are needed. Though truly drunken driving is a serious issue, much of the reported problem is little more than PR. Consider fatality statistics. The number of deaths that activist groups attribute to drunken driving is grossly exaggerated. Last year, federal statisticians classified almost 18,000 deaths as alcohol-related. But alcohol-related does not mean alcohol-caused. In fact, that figure includes anyone killed in a crash in which at least one person, driver, pedestrian, cyclist, etc., was estimated to have any alcohol. If a sober driver recklessly crashes into and kills a family whose driver had enjoyed a glass of wine, statistics reflect all of their deaths as alcohol-related. Is she advocating for allowing drunk driving? She's literally a former lobbyist for the alcohol industry. In reality, the figure, and this is an opinion piece posted in Philly Daily News. And so, as a lobbyist, she wrote this article and got it published in the Philadelphia News. Drunk driving isn't that big of a deal. Here you go, kids. The anti-alcohol lobby, which is very rich considering this is written by a lobbyist, has also invented fantastical talking points to bolster their bunk traffic stats. One of its favorites, first offenders drive drunk on average 87 times before they are caught, goes so far as to accuse individuals of criminal acts with absolutely no proof. How is this not an Always Sunny episode? It really should be. The truth is that this widely publicized figure comes from rough estimates of self-reported data, commonly criticized as unreliable. Collected from a small sample almost 13 years ago, even the study's own authors admit the estimates are crude. In the 90s, these groups used another crude statistic to convince the public that reducing the legal blood alcohol limit from 0.1 to 0.08% could save 600 to 800 lives annually. Today, research proves it didn't work. Their 0.08 push failed to have any measurable effects on fatality rates. It only lowered the threshold for qualifying as a drunken driver, ignoring the fact that the majority of drunks wreaking havoc on the roads drive while more often than double the 0.08 limit. One study in contemporary economic policy concluded that 0.08 efforts would have been better spent encouraging effective measures against chronic drunken drivers. Yeah, guys, look, the real solution should have been to allow people to drive drunk. That's literally her argument is we should allow the 0.08% blood alcohol level people to drive their cars. God damn, it's so much worse. I am skipping parts of it just because this is unconscionably awful. Right now, the 176 million responsible Americans who drink in moderation can still safely and legally drive home after enjoying a drink. Furthermore, research shows that drivers who talk on cell phones, drive drowsy, or travel 7 miles per hour above the speed limit pose a larger threat than those who enjoy a few drinks and stay below 0.08 before driving home. Disregard the evidence. The anti-alcohol movement's invented, inflated, and distorted facts would have the public believe that there should be no legal limit except zero. This is the reason we all think one thing when the reality is another. I follow the Bulwark because I hate myself a little bit. Her focus group, she has a focus group podcast, is so insanely out of touch and self-serving it's worth watching an episode at some point. Hell, Ben, can you link me to that? Just to save me a little bit of time. I'm developing an interest in this woman's work.
Yeah,
I know.
This is like the same shit we just did with Joe Rogan. It's like Democrats shouldn't go on Joe Rogan has terrible fucking views. They have to speak to those people. Those are the people that they have to speak to. Why wouldn't they do that? Right now, especially right now when they're the most gettable.
Let's say, so Nick Fuentes is out there saying we should vote for Democrats because Trump is doing this for Israel. Think Democrats should go on Nick Fuentes' show? I don't.
But let's be very clear. Nick Fuentes' show is very different from Hasan's show. They are not the same show. They are not run the same. They do not make the same arguments or the same points or have the same political goals. Nick Fuentes is an ethno-state, white nationalist. He is a whites-only kind of guy. In his ideal world, no people of color exist whatsoever. That's the world he wants to move to. It's just one of pure hatred and bigotry.
Nick Fuentes is full of shit, is the thing. I mean, I don't think they should go on a show, but not really so much because he's an anti-Semite. I don't think they should go on a show because he's he's a troll. He's just a troll. Hasan really believes what he believes. You can say.
I mean, I don't think that's the belief factor is not the reason you should or should not do a show. You call her a lobbyist. I say she's a brave warrior being compensated for taking a stand against big sobriety. Finally, someone's taking a righteous stand against the sober lobby.
beliefs are bad or wrong or shameful or should be condemned, and you could go on a show and fight him about it. But like, Hasan is not out there doing like, jokes about ovens and, the Jew, there might not have been that many people killed in the Holocaust, doing trolling. Like, what does Dick Fuentes even believe? Does anybody even know? Does he even know? I don't think he even knows what he believes in.
I mean, it's very, look, I'm not in the business of ascertaining the true unfettered nature of other people's hearts. That's a losing proposition as far as like what you can do with your time. You can look at somebody who's wearing like a Klan hood and Klan robes, and like you don't know for sure the contents of that person's heart. All you can judge about what's in their heart is based on what they do. And given the fact that they chose to dress up in Klan robes and chose to go to the Klan rally and chose to light that cross on fire, you can ascertain a thing or two about what they believe. When you combine that with the things that they say, you can come to some reasonable conclusions. The same way we can come to the reasonable conclusion that Donald Trump is a gutter racist because of the things that he says and the things that he does. Similarly, you can also tell that about Nick Fuentes. And yes, he's also a gutter racist. Nothing exceptional about him. And when you look at Hasan, well, his whole thing is kind of championing the oppressed. That's not really the vibe of a gutter racist. I don't know. Based on the things he says and does, I don't think that he is the racist that Sarah Longwell, enemy of big sobriety, would want you to believe.
Anymore. Like, he's just full of shit. Like, it's like a variety show. Hasan like has passionate left-wing views, and they should be grappled with, I think.
Who says that 9/11 was America?
Huh, you don't want to grapple with them. Hasan's huge. He'd crush you. Snap your arms like a twig.
And that, like, I don't think this is a serious person. This is part of my problem. Now, and I'm going to both state a problem, and then I think one of the ways in which strategically this is bad. Nick Fuentes and Hasan Piker are both being elevated in the discourse because there's a Streisand effect happening. This I do write about in the book. The Streisand effect that makes these people more powerful, that gives these people a bigger platform, where whether it is the earnestness of Hasan or the nihilism of Fuentes, right? People are like kind of there for that experience, and it raises their curiosity. This happened with Andrew Tate. Like, there is just a series of people where the outrage against them is making them more powerful. That being said, understanding that dynamic doesn't mean that like there's just sort of a right is still right and wrong is still wrong. Like, I do think Hasan, but like I felt this way about Mamdani.
No, it's on my show. Does that just make you uncomfortable? Like the phrase globalized intifada, from the river to the sea?
To me, ultimately,
Of course she goes after Mamdani too.
Here in so many is a desperate desire for equality and equal rights in standing up for Palestinian human rights. And I think what's difficult also is that the very word has been used by the Holocaust Museum when translating the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising into Arabic, because it's a word that means struggle.
Sure.
And as a Muslim man who grew up post 9/11, I'm all too familiar in the way in which Arabic words can be twisted, can be distorted, can be used to justify any kind of meaning.
Yep.
And I think that's where it leaves me with a sense that what we need to do is focus on keeping Jewish New Yorkers safe, and the question of the permissibility of language is something that I haven't ventured into.
It's like, I just feel like the phrase globalized intifada is not something people should use, because even if you don't intend it to be that way, it is heard by Jewish people as like, kill us everywhere. And so that should be condemned. And then I asked him if he would condemn anyone on the show.
But like, I think trying not to elevate these people in the discourse, or us being clear that they are malign actors, like we can wrestle with what they say. And actually, I want to say something, because I'm not sure if we've talked about this before.
Really, what's really important to me is that you say fuck Hasan. Will you say fuck Hasan on this show right now? If you don't say fuck Hasan, you're not cool. And you want to be cool, right? So you should say fuck Hasan. and then drink a nice, big, tall, cold one before getting in your car and driving home. God, this... Oh... Honestly, knowing that this lady has made like a lifelong commitment to helping people drive drunk. Like, this isn't even, by the way, that long ago, right? Because if you look at her Wikipedia, she got her job lobbying for like the alcohol industry. She started working at Berman and Company, right? With Richard Berman. And eventually became the managing director of the American Beverage Institute, a trade association set up by her boss. And as of like from that point on until 2019, she maybe 2018, unclear. Oh, no, 2016. There we go. She was like a lobbyist for the alcohol industry for years. Years. Here's a quote. Yeah, here's a quote from her from 2017 in Deseret News. Proponents claim that a driver is noticeably impaired at 0.05, but that simply isn't the case. In this kind of analysis, the keyword is notably. Almost anything increases the risk of a car accident to some degree, even something as innocent as listening to the radio. So cool. Like, just fighting the good fight against any kind of regulation on how drunk you can be before getting into and operating a motor vehicle on the road. God.
I was also on a panel with him, and I didn't know who he was going into it. This is like actually the embarrassing part of this is that I don't like really know. I don't like follow who the Twitch streamers are. And I hadn't really heard of him. Or if I had, I hadn't bothered to figure out who he was. And when he started talking, like the first things out of his mouth were like ridiculous, and they were attacks on Bill. And it was.
So just to be clear, from 2008 at least to 2017 at least, she was representing big alcohol.
This like kind of it was just like garbage lefty nonsense, and I also had a fight with him on the stage and condemned what he was saying. Also was like, this guy's worthless. As a like I don't find him to be remotely interesting as a thinker, and I get that he's got a big audience, but just because these guys have big audiences doesn't mean they're all created equal.
Again, I think this is...
I'm sorry, but I don't really think of him as a big thinker. Yeah, that's why everyone goes on Joe Rogan. Everyone goes on Joe Rogan because he's such a deep thinker. He's so good at articulating complicated topics. Joe Rogan, the world's deepest thinker of them all. He thinks so deep that perhaps it is not a thought that he has, but he has actually achieved some kind of thought void. A thought so deep that it enraptures all of us who come into contact with it. I don't know. This all feels like stupid bullshit.
Well, I know you the 5 months thing, and right is always right. And I think that people in the commentary space that want to criticize them
thought hole,
should,
if you will, yeah.
And I understand that right is always right. In my argument for engaging with him last night, I said it was like even this week he attacked Scott Wiener, state senator out of California, for visiting Israel after October 7th, and I was like, that's a crazy thing to attack somebody over. That's an insane thing to attack somebody over, and that's wrong, and I find it repugnant actually. But we could disagree about that. Here's my problem though, is why it matters all in the context of Israel. You're saying that these guys are being elevated by the Streisand effect, and I think that is part of it. It is true. And I think that, again, and I think that's why this is counterproductive to have this fight right now for pro-Israel Democrats or centrist Democrats or whatever, any of those groups, because I think right now he's being elevated quite a bit. But I don't think that's what's elevating him. I mean, I think that what is happening in the world is elevating him in the moment. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. This is like very uncomfortable for like defenders of Israel to deal with. But like what happened was we were in a world after October 7th where there were a lot of people that were too soon for my taste out there attacking Israel for what they're doing in Gaza and how they're prosecuting the war. And
people were too mean to Gaza too soon. You mean people were skeptical and pretty critical of the actions Israel was taking against Gaza, as if it was all happening in a vacuum. It didn't have like fucking 100 years of history prior to that to inform exactly what is going on. It was too soon. You needed to let them kill more Palestinians before you actually judged them harshly. Like, anyone who has listened or read on the history of Gaza and Palestine in particular and understood that already Israel-based human rights groups were saying what was happening in the Gaza Strip was an apartheid state ripe for further targeting and frankly genocidal activity. Groups like B'Tselem. But like, no, it was too soon. It was too soon to judge.
They were doing so in ways that
you know, after you accidentally bump into someone at a bar, it's too soon to judge after the first 5 punches to your face whether or not that person is a threat to you, you know, and intends to do you lasting harm. You need to let them punch at least 10 times before you ascertain their threat level. Okay?
Talked explicitly
We're
about
clearly
that.
Anti-Semitic.
Okay, well, there are times that they're clearly anti-Semitic, but there are also times where they were talking about things that other people weren't talking about in the news, like the amount of death and destruction that was happening to the Palestinians in Gaza, and they were talking about that passionately, and maybe they're passionately and earnestly anti-Semitic. Okay, but they were talking about this topic passionately, talking about how Israel is a malign influence on the world, and that they have too much influence in American politics. That we're giving them too much aid, that AIPAC is too involved in these campaigns. And if you came and listened to my show a year ago, like anytime this topic come up, I was on the opposite side. I was saying, God, you're it's kind of anti-Semitic how you're blaming AIPAC for everything. You're overstating AIPAC's influence. And all of their critiques of Israel has just done everything that they said. Like, AIPAC now is the key player in Democratic primaries and internecine primaries. They are the group that is putting the most money in. That's not a Jewish conspiracy theory. That's just what's happening. I talked to Democratic strategists. They're like, the race is going to be determined based on AIPAC's involvement. Like, that's just is what it is right now. And Israel did then continue to go way overboard in their prosecution of the war in Gaza, and then not to mention what's happening in the West Bank with the settlements, not to mention the fact that they're invading Lebanon right now. And then we did get into a war with Israel, like that the Secretary of State said we got into because Israel was going to attack first if we didn't do it. So sure, there might have been some anti-Semitic stuff mixed in there, and that's not good. I'm not okaying that. It's bad. They should not do anti-Semitic stuff. But like, their general critique of the lefty anti-Israel commentators like has borne out in the real world. And so I don't understand. I don't know what pro-Israel people expect. There's been a huge sea change. If you just look at the polls of voters, they're looking around. They're like,
it is bizarre to see Tim Miller like putting the pieces together. He's just like, yeah, I don't know what to say to you guys, but they do be killing people though. Why does this guy have a pinto bean poster? Is he really into beans? Well, I think we all know the real reason why, you know? And it's clearly...
What? Give me the beans! I must have these beans! Beans? Why, I say, young fellow, did you say something about beans? Magical beans? Some mystical legumes? Well, I'll give you 1,000 gold pieces for it. Magic beans!
I do love this community. It's so delightfully weird.
Happy with the extent of our relationship militarily with this country. I'm unhappy with this war. All of the establishment figures want to kind of tamp that down, and there are these other voices out there that have been speaking about it. Well, obviously they're going to gain influence, and shouldn't Democratic politicians talk to the viewers of those shows? They're not all anti-Semites. They're just unhappy with how things are going in the world.
Oh, okay. Minty Treasure actually has an answer. It's a framed bag from a bean company that he brought a trade delegation to when he worked for Bush. Apparently, he liked the design. Okay. You know what? I can't fault the guy for having weird taste. That's fine. I appreciate a good story. It's a conversation bean piece.
I think you can do it. So this, what I don't like, and I don't want to say that I think you're falling into a trap, but I do think that there are ways. One of my biggest critique.
I don't want to say that you're actually a big time sucker, but anyway, wait, what's that? Oh, my check for being an agent against big sobriety just cleared. Oh, thanks so much. Thank you for calling and letting me know that.
Of Democrats in the book, and the thing I am urging them to do is to get out there on offense, to say what they believe. They should passionately argue.
To get out there on offense and say what they believe, just as long as they don't believe any of the same things that Hasan Piker believes, because that's too close to being associated with him, and that might make you an anti-Semite.
Against this war, if that is what they believe. If it's not, that's different. But like, they should passionately argue about it so that people listen to them, and so they have credibility on this. That doesn't require Hasan Piker.
But who's doing
this
that?
idea that this? Well,
this is part of the problem. Is Hakeem Jeffries doing that? Is Chuck Schumer doing that? Are the 2028ers?
This is where you and I agree.
Gavin Newsom came out there and was like, "Oh, Israel's an apartheid state." Then he apologized
for it. They should ignore, but this is why
they
should ignore Hasan Piker. They should ignore Hasan Piker at all. They should ignore him. They should ignore him and condemn him. I think I do not think it's hard. If you listen, when we were anti-Trump, right? The reason that we were anti-Trump is partly because he loved to be in lockstep with all the grossest people who had gross opinions. It's like
it's almost like he had a gross opinion in all of those cases too.
Find people on both sides. It's the way he checks in with Tucker, and the right would argue this. Why is JD Vance cozying up to them? Why do we condemn them? We condemn JD Vance for cozying up to bad people for electoral reasons, and that I think is the problem. That felt to me like your argument yesterday.
This is where
wait, is this lady a former Republican? She's a current neoconservative.
Folks that are attacking me, I think are wrong. I'm not arguing that they cozy up. It's fine to go on a show and argue, to disagree with them. What prompted all this was the idea that John Ossoff has to condemn Hasan Piker.
You know what's funny? I agree with your
because
point.
Hasan Piker complimented him. That's fucking insane. Fuck you is what John Ossoff should say. John Ossoff should say, you know what? I don't know what Hasan Piker's whole is.
John Ossoff should just say, you know what? I am insert compliment. Thank you. And then move on. It's not a complicated issue. The reason it's being made an issue at all is as an attack and a smear against Hasan, and as an extension, the things he bellies.
You should say, I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is. Here's what my...
Oh, shoot bang. Yes, I have the podcast. I'll take a look at it on a new day.
My opinion is I'm against this war in Iran. Yeah. I'm against this war, and I'm against this Trump administration that's killing people in the streets, and that's what I care about. And you want me to talk about some streamer? Eat shit. That's what I think John Ossoff should say.
And I was on your side. I was on your side on that point. It was the rest of it. It was last night. Listening to it being that I do not think, though, for electoral reasons, they need to embrace Hasan. That is different.
Did I say embrace? I never said embrace. I said talk to his audience, talk to the people that listen to him and Joe Rogan and Theo and Sneeko, all of these anti-war people that, there's some anti.
Yeah, man. More Democratic politicians should go on Sneeko's show. Okay. I don't know. Sneeko really, really liked Kanye West Nazi era. I don't know about going on Sneeko's show though.
Semites there. I hear that.
But guess you what? Can do that without,
guess what? Anti-Semites voted for Barack Obama. Anti-Semites voted for George Bush. Gay haters.
But you don't have to court them.
Homophobes.
You don't have to court them.
Well, no, but you have to have a message. Yeah, the voters. You have to have a message for the people that listen to the shows
because of the anti-Semitism.
You have to have a message for people that listen to the shows. It's like, let's make sure that the people in McLean, Virginia, with that go to the parties in DC aren't mad. It's like, who cares what those people think? Talk to the real Americans that are flocking to these shows that are upset about what is happening in the world. Have a message for them. Talk to them. Go on those platforms to talk to them. And if the host says anti-Semitic stuff, say, no, I don't fucking believe that. I don't believe the Jews were behind Charlie Kirk's murder. I don't believe the Jews control the weather. I don't believe that the Jews, there's a lot of,
what's this guy's point? This guy is trying to say that he thinks people like Hasan it's worth going on their show and being like, and having a message for their audience to try and get their audience politically engaged and like turn out for like elections or whatever. So he's saying essentially streamers and different shows online are useful vehicles for messaging. And you should, like, politicians should be taking advantage of these vehicles, even if they are imperfect, because you can reach a bigger audience. That's it. I think for him, it's a purely utilitarian exercise. And she's saying, well, no, because you don't want to associate your political opinions with Hasan, because Hasan is the devil. Oh, specifically that anti-Semites voted for Obama? Just that bigots vote. Bigots vote for different kinds of candidates for different reasons, etc. Like, you know, like Nick Fuentes' audience, at least some of them, bother to vote. And like, that his argument isn't like you cater your message to anti-Semites, but his message is, you know, you have to have his point is you have to have a message. And that message has to be appealing to people and in general, because, you know, like that's how politics works. They are both Republicans. Yes.
I don't believe that we deserve 9/11. You can say all that on those platforms.
They're both never Trump Republicans. Never Trump Republicanism is basically what the Bulwark is. So, you know, the Bulwark is useful for gathering clips for sure. I follow them on Blue Sky and such, but like their political analysis is dog shit.
But also say to people that, you know what I'm mad about? I'm not mad about some streamer and something he said 3 years ago. Like what I'm mad about is this war that we're in right now. And I think that there are a lot of people out there that feel like the Democratic leaders are totally out of touch with their anger right now.
Yeah, because the Democratic leaders are more afraid of someone making like a spurious association like that than like actually standing up for their principles. Because like a talented and decent politician would be able to be like, well, I'm not really mad about what a streamer said several years ago. I'm mad about like the exploitation of working class people. I'm mad about the fact that Israel is currently engaged in an act of genocide. I'm mad about the fact that Israel is trying to undermine the ceasefire with Iran. You know, like that's what a talented politician would do.
And I think that this is just like this kind of fight just exacerbates that.
I agree with that particular point about it exacerbating it. And so, I think that we should separate the idea of like Democrats should be going hard against this war. They do need to be more aggressive.
Tim Miller is far closer to being correct, right? Which is why Tim Miller can have like a normal human conversation with Hasan Piker without combusting.
They do need to speak to a wider audience. I do not think they need to do that with Hasan Piker and I think that they should be very clear to separate from the anti-Semites as they do it, because otherwise what you are doing is ginning up
I mean, genuinely, Sam Seder would be an excellent avatar for politicians to come on and have conversations with. But the issue is, you know, how big, sorry, I forget how big, I know the majority report is around like 200,000, 300,000, somewhere in there. Hasan Piker followers on Twitch. Yeah, he has like several million on Twitch. He has over 3 million on Twitch. He's got like almost 2 million on YouTube. It's not counting any of like the clip shows. Like, yeah. I mean, like Sam Seder is a very, very talented communicator, but he's also like 1/10 the size of Hasan. Or did they clear 1 million? Oh shit, I'm wrong. I'm very, very wrong. Sam Seder has 2 million subscribers. Sam actually has more. Wow. They actually have more subscribers than Hasan. Bigger than Hasan, baby. Just not bigger than on Twitch. For whatever reason, I thought I remembered a competition between Sam Seder and David Pakman to break 200,000. I think I misremembered that. It was 1 million. So
Semitism, and yeah. I understand. And last night,
here's the part of the problem. We're going to do this. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, Sam is a Hollywood celebrity. He was on Sex and the City and Bob's Burgers. Who else can make those claims? No one. That's who. He's a gem. Every politician should be trying to get on his show and get some of his star power.
don't support anti-Semitism. I think there's a lot of anti-Semitism out there. I think that a lot of the people who are pro-Israel and pro this war weaponize this, though. And it's like, well, it's too anti-Semitic. If I would have said a month ago,
but I think Hasan is
Israel is weaponizing social media to try to brainwash people, you would have said that was anti-Semitic. A lot of
he's still on Bob's Burgers. Is Bob's Burgers still going on? I thought I got a movie and ended like 8 years ago.
Israel defenders would have said that was anti-Semitic. Well, then Bibi went out and said that he wants to do that with TikTok. He sees TikTok as a weapon. Okay,
the Majority Report isn't on Twitch, as far as I know.
Would have said that Israel's going to drag America into a war that we have nothing to do with, based on their influence over our political leaders. 2 months ago, people would have said that's an anti-Semitic thing to say, and now we're doing that. And so I'm with you. I'm not for anti-Semitism. That what happened in Michigan is a tragedy. People should be clear-eyed, but also this notion that that there's a lot of folks out there that are trying to police the rhetoric around this because they don't want Israel to be criticized in the full.
I'm developing a grudging respect for Tim Miller, and I'm really upset about it. I'm really upset about it. But I do like that he's holding his ground here. I like it.
Full view of their actions, and there's a lot of criticism of Israel that is merited right now. And I just think that this, again, it goes back to who you empowering. I think that if you try to if on one side Israel is starting a war in Iran and getting us into this quagmire and hurting people.
Oh, okay. The Majority Report is also on Twitch. It's got 124,000 followers. That's pretty good. It's no 13,000 followers, but it's pretty okay.
People's lives. And then on the other side, you have people that are saying things about Israel. And you're out there and you're like, I don't like the way that you're talking. And that's the thing that you're very passionate about. And then you're not that passionate. You're like, well, I don't know.
Yes, I am aware. That's why I'm upset that Tim Miller is creating a begrudging respect in me. I'm aware he's a former Republican. I would argue current Republican, just a never Trump Republican.
Bibi's a partner. We're going to work with him. We'll see. You know what I mean? There's a disconnect with people. And I think, again, you're empowering the actual anti-Semites. I think you're empowering the actual anti-Semites by not being just clear-eyed about the real threat here.
How is this different? This is one of the sort of the main thing. And this is tough, but I'm going to put it out there. How is it different? Our objection to Trump when he showed up, and this is where when people were like, it's locker room talk, I was like, you locker room talk. No, it's not. The way they tried to downplay things, we stood against Trump. And look, everybody else on the right, I don't take a lot of their criticisms. They're not in a position to levy this because what they did is say, you know what? We need Nick Fuentes' audience. We need Tucker's audience. We need to all get on board with Trump despite the horrific things he's saying because he's right about X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Right? And the populist rage that people had. Well, Trump is going to embody that. And we said, no, we stand against random rage from people, even about things that maybe they're right to be mad about. Income inequality, stupid foreign wars, right? Trump had messages that resonated with people. And we were like, no, we stand against that because this guy is a foul person who is going to do tremendous damage to America. We were right about that.
Clear eye for the Schultz guy.
I appreciated that. Thank you, Sake, for the 2 tier 1 subs and the zinger.
I want to maintain that against people like Hasan.
Well, and Hasan's not running for president. So I've changed my views. That would be one. Number 2, Trump was running for president. Number 2 is again, that's not really the apt comparison, right? The apt comparison is, should Republican politicians have gone to megachurches to talk to people that have, influential pastors that have terrible views about gays? Maybe they shouldn't have. I don't know. You know what I mean? But don't you have to communicate?
They definitely did do that.
Yeah, they definitely did do that. But don't you have to communicate to the religious voters on there? I mean, some of this is not apt because I think that the Volk that listen to Hasan that are mad about Israel have a point. and like the Volk on the right that are like mad about mass immigration coming into the country, like I don't think really have a point, but like that is like kind of the comparison, like just as a strategic matter in retrospect, like obviously the establishment Republicans should have listened more to their base to avoid having them being overthrown by Trump. That's maybe more of the apt comparison with Hasan. But I just, again, this is like, I think this is funny. This is why I think this is fun. This is like why I think this is funny. Like my issue with the Democrats running for office that are in office that are in power is that they're not criticizing our foreign policy enough. Like that's my criticism, that they're not passionate enough. I don't think there's any risk right now that there's like some emerging, I guess Zoran, I guess the example, but he's kind of moderated as in New York and that's kind of avoided foreign policy issues. Like maybe Zoran was running for Senate, it would have been different. But like who do you want me to condemn? Like who is the person in the Democratic Party that like is advancing these real anti-Semitic views? Like Tlaib sometimes in the House. I'm happy to condemn her when she talks.
What the fuck? Rashida Tlaib is not an anti-Semite. Fuck you. All right. Thank you. Finally, this guy had a bad enough take. All right. Okay. There we go. Woof. Woof. That was a bad take. There it goes. Lit it all on fire.
Omar.
Yeah, sure. Okay, but like,
oh yeah, Ilhan Omar, such a raging anti-Semite that she is getting votes from the Jewish community in Minnesota. Also, again, none of these people are anti-Semitic.
But does Hasan condemn these two?
Probably. Yeah, probably. I bet if we looked for like 2 seconds, we could find a clip. But you know what? I bet he's laughing at him.
All right, these are two random members of the House. So like, sure, I'll condemn them. But like the power structures in the Democratic Party it's nothing. This is nothing like Trump. This is not apt at all. This is not like, oh, you left the party over Trump. I was like, well, Trump took over the whole party. I fought him from within the party, and then he took it over, and then I fought him from within the party, and then eventually I lost the fight, and I left the party. Like, that's what happened. Like, this fight isn't even happening in the Democratic Party yet. Like, the Democratic Party leadership is, in my view, like, not radical.
This is way more I did not expect this amount of Tim Miller support for Hasan on this podcast. I was expecting like a double team anti-Hasan podcast, and I'm getting like a way more like, this guy's going to bat for him. The fact that this guy is like going to bat for Hasan and throwing Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib under the bus is crazy to me, but okay.
Enough. I know. So I don't think that this comparison does nothing for me.
Okay, well, let me just try one more time.
Yeah.
My objection, in large part with Trump, was that he tried to work on people's worst impulses, right? He appealed to the racism, the xenophobia, the hatred, the bad stuff. And I don't want Democrats to go down that road. I think it is very important.
Yeah, but also criticizing a government that is killing people, that is explicitly engaging in genocidal practices like ethnic cleansing and apartheid, like criticizing a government for that and working to end those practices and working to influence that government into ending the exploitation and death and destruction, that's a good thing. That is a good thing to do. And there's a big difference between that and people embracing the far-right MAGA nonsense and hatred and bigotry of Donald Trump. Like, Donald Trump is out there playing Mad World over clips of, like, Somali people going to a theme park. You know, around me have a million faces, what are places, what are places. It's a mad world. Like, you know that song. Like, because he's a gutter racist. You know, Hasan is not doing that. To equate these two things is utterly insane.
Important. When you fight Trump, when you look into the abyss looks back at you, and Democrats should...
Oh God, you prefer the Kermit version? Well, you see, all around me are familiar faces. Worn out places. I can't do it. It's fine. What do you mean by mad? What do you mean by world? Let's break this down. So you spin, and then you reverse, And then you go around, you are now an average planetoid. But what would it be like if you became a deranged planetoid? Say a comet comes out of the edge of the solar system and turns into a meteor and strikes your world, sending it askew, deranging your world even. One could say that is a very mad world. Is that the kind of mad world that we are talking about?
Every time you go Kermit, all I can think about is postmodernism, now with even more marshmallows.
Postmodernism, now with even more marshmallows.
Not only can you take a load, you can take the ultimate load.
Avoid the mistakes that I think the Republicans made that made us leave, which was embracing intolerable people. And that point that you're making about Trump is a fair one. It is fair to say that Hasan is just like a streamer. He's not the guy running for president. But I do think the elements of your argument, which is that
we'll see who cancels who.
That's right.
Hasan is representing an angry base and the base needs to be listened to. That's what happened with Republicans. Yeah. They're like, Trump represents an angry base and the base needs to be listened to.
Yeah, but I think the base is bright in this case. I think that what is elided in this conversation is, again, the actions of Israel. When I look at this, again, I do not condone.
Weird how that keeps happening, huh? Hey, Tim, it's weird how that keeps happening among more conservative elements of the, Democratic Party. Isn't that weird, Tim? Hey, Tim, isn't that weird? Maybe that should make you question some things, Tim. Hey, Tim, this might be my hottest take yet. What if we fixed Tim Miller? What if we undertake an operation to fix Tim Miller?
Please play the JP Normal Rat clip?
Fuck you, buddy.
I don't have it available. Otherwise I would. I didn't mean that, fuck you, buddy. I'm sorry. It was the only Jordan Peterson soundboard clip that I have that I hadn't played yet.
Hasan's anti-Semitic comments, I specifically criticized his tweet this week about Scott Wiener. So, I think that it's bad. But if I am worried about anti-Semitism in this country, and that is my top worry, and if you're and that is what a lot of these groups that are trying to make Hasan an issue about. If that is my top worry, and my main focus is on condemning Hasan Piker, I think that you've lost your mind. I think I think that is just a totally counterproductive thing to do. I think that by doing that, you're.
Oh, hell yeah.
Rat.
Hell yeah.
Is this. The rats are all like this. The rat goes like this. So the rat's like this. The normal rat is like this. That's the normal rat. Like this. Like this. It sniffs. It's like this for quite a while. He's like this. And then maybe he sniffs. You are now a normal rat.
Everybody do the normal rat. Everybody do the rat. Everybody do the normal rat. Everybody do the rat. Everybody do the normal rat. Everybody do the rat. Everybody do the normal rat. Normal rat. Normal rat. Normal rat. I don't know where that came from. What's happening to me? Oh God. I think I might have taken the ultimate load.
Not only can you take a load, you can take the ultimate load.
Oh no.
Empowering him and empowering the views you don't like. And I think that the biggest problem with anti-Semitism in this country right now is that the United States.
And that's the normal rat rap.
Is engaged in a war, and everyone who just has eyes is looking at this war and being like, I don't understand why we're in it. And the most reasonable explanation I can think of is that Israel wants us to be in it because this is an acute issue for Israel. And I think that that's going to create a lot of people that are very upset at Israel. And by.
Do we need a musical? Don't tempt me, Sarah Scorpion. Don't tempt me. Not like that.
Nature, unfortunately, sadly, what is going to result from that is increased anti-Semitism. And if I was somebody who's worried about anti-Semitism in this country, and if I was a Democratic Party leader, I think that both the right thing to do and the strategic thing to do would be to be 100x louder in criticism of Bibi than I am in criticism of Hasan Piker.
Honestly, 100 times louder on your criticism of Israel's policies, because the issue isn't just Benjamin Netanyahu. The entire Knesset, his cabinet are like reveling in, anti-Palestinian apartheid laws being strengthened. Like they are currently engaged in a military war of aggression against Lebanon and conducting an ethnic cleansing of southern Lebanon. Like the idea that like, oh, well, you should be 100% louder, 100 times louder of your criticism of Benjamin Netanyahu. But like, even if Benjamin Netanyahu got removed tomorrow, the policies of Israel would not change that drastically because of the political environment fostered after decades of Benjamin Netanyahu. And so like, when we're talking about this, it's not criticism 100 times louder against Benjamin Netanyahu that is going to make the difference. It's 100 times louder against the policies of the state of Israel. It's not even like the state of Israel as like a broad strokes concept. It's the state of Israel's policies are bad and they need to change. Full stop. That's it. And you can always criticize policy.
And on this point, I'll just say,
Jack, have you heard the song by the band that did Everybody Do the Dinosaur? It's called I'm in Jail or something. I have not heard that song, but I was thinking Everybody Do the Dinosaur because at the very beginning of this stream, we did show a clip of the Koopa Kids rap from the 1990s Mario movie. And you know what? If people weren't around for that or missed it when we played it last time, you know what? I think we should play it again. You know what? This is my show. I can do what I want. It's been a rough day, and if I want to play a clip of Iggy and Spike from the Mario Brothers movie rapping about developing class consciousness and how they have realized that the working class needs to band together in order to overthrow a tyrannical government, even if that government is run by their father. You know what? I think that's a wonderful thing for us to pay attention to right now, and here it is.
You realize what our society has become? You ever get the feeling you're on automatic?
Also, can we just like take a moment? Like the fact that the 1993 Mario Brothers movie had like a dancer in BDSM gear on a bar dancing. That's pretty wild. That's pretty okay. Why not? Do another reel of coke and throw it in there.
Pilot, you're going through the motions like waves in the ocean. That life is a series of brainless notions, and you want to feel something more than empty emotions. When we met two plumbers who had an idea, they showed us the light and the new frontier. Mario and Luigi, they know what's right. We gotta take a stand and put up a fight. Well, stop and think this through. It's time to get rid of you know who. A radical development is taking place. Iggy and Spike will set the pace. Koopa, the party pooper. The pooper scooper.
I'm sorry. The costuming is so wild in this. Is that lady wearing like a fucking H.R. Geiger alien tail? Look at that. It is. It's the fucking tail from Alien.
Koopa, the party pooper.
I'm fascinated.
It's a crying shame. We're playing his game. He's got us so tame. It really is lame. We're all so dumb being under his thumb. Be proud, reptilians. We number in the millions. Look at these goombas shutting us down. The rule of force is the rule of this clown. Koopa, the party pooper.
It's the case! Wake up, people! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
You realize?
All right. Back to this.
I think I am in agreement that strategically what one does, this is something people fall into, and I think Democrats do as well, where they focus too much on sort of trying to critique the thing they think is bad instead of saying the thing they think is right. And so what I would like for Democrats to do is like, go swing hard on how you feel about this, the way that...
Oh my God. The Super Mario Brothers movie did a 9/11 joke? Oh my God.
Yes, the original Mario Brothers movie, where the cast was drunk for half the scenes and King Koopa was just Donald Trump, like many movie villains in the 80s.
It's true.
Look! Koopa's power!
Those guys will do anything for publicity.
No, not the World Trade Center attack by the Koopas. Everyone remembers that day. Changed everything.
Trump got us into this war.
Second Mario Brothers hit the tower. Fuck.
The fact that he has not he didn't even ask Congress, that he has done nothing to ask the American people or make a case to the American people. Like everything about
wow, it predicted everything. It predicted 9/11, predicted Donald Trump, predicted all the lizard people that are walking around everywhere, predicted how everyone would be sexually infatuated with the alien from the movie Alien. It predicted everything.
From top to bottom has been an insane adventure. It's the exact opposite of what he ran on. Oil prices are now high. There's a million things to criticize. Go hard. Go focus on that. I don't think, though. I think it is a mistake. I think that it is a mistake to make it about Hasan Piker. I do think you have to drown out the anti-Semites and make a good, clear case.
It's a mistake to make it about Hasan Piker, says the publisher from the website that has run like 12 different articles about Hasan Piker over the last week, who's engaged in okay, all right, cool, all right,
steeped in the things that are right, and I do not think you need to. My last word is I do not think you need to embrace people like Hasan, and I think it's fine to condemn him.
You know what? I would love to believe that that's your last word, but I see the runtime on this. I see that there's still 4 minutes left.
And condemn him and then go make your own case.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't want us to. One of the things, this is a quick note to Bulwark listeners, which is something that is happening that bugs me, is when people are like, the Bulwark is embracing Hasan. And I'm like, guys, I get it that Tim's got the big microphone, but like one man's opinion. Okay. There's many of us. We have a big array of opinions. We argue.
There are many of us with many different opinions on how to do conservatism.
About them with each other. That's what the Bulwark is about. Yeah. And so if you want honest conversations about tough topics, like that's what we're going to do here. And that the Twitter discourse does a real disservice to this conversation.
Yeah. The world is complicated and it's not clear what the right thing to do is going forward. And I do think that there's a lot of projection onto.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear what the right way to go forward is, which is, pro working class policy. I don't have to pretend like it's a confusing thing or confusing on how to move forward from here. We embrace pro-working class policies. We tax the rich. We tax corporations. We close the loopholes, and we get Medicare for all passed. We meaningfully improve people's lives. And on a state-by-state basis, we outlaw private money out of, not private, we outlaw, corporate spending in politics. That's very clearly the path forward. We do all of this while trying to improve access to housing. We try to get housing for all as close as we can, as on a year by year basis. We keep pushing and we keep trying to improve. It's not, I don't know. It's not this crazy delicate balancing act.
On us and everybody, it's like people, want to project their own hatreds or fears, and everybody experiences this. But
we do all this while believing in human rights and bodily autonomy. Yeah, exactly. We throw none of the marginalized under the bus.
I mean, I hear you on that, and this is why it was funny. Actually, this is just a comment. We can go meta since we
this is an evolved Liz Cheney. That makes a lot of sense.
We've I think expressed
We've done the
our
substance,
contrary views. The meta comment I think is funny about this is last night after I did the stream, I did you should not do this. You should not do this. Is a bad thing to do as an influencer, commentator, or whatever. And I try not to do this that often, but I was just
curious. Went and read the comments?
I tried to read the comments of the Bulwark Plus members. Join Bulwark Plus now because you're part of our community. I do want to hear their comments.
Next evolution is Hillary.
Twitter and Reddit, whether anybody was talking about it or linking about it. I searched for myself and Hasan or whatever our names, and it was pretty funny actually. Was that there are anti-Hasan clip accounts that clipped two of the things that I said criticizing him. And it was Tim Miller goes after Hasan. And then there were anti, because they're trying to make him a bad guy. There are lefty anti-Hasan, accounts. And then they were then they're the anti-Bulwark accounts, the pro-Israel, whatever right-wing accounts. They had clipped the ones where, I was explaining why I don't think the Democrats should distance from him, being the Bulwark has gone full Hasan. It's this is just the nature of the discourse. And I do, and we started this here when I was saying that there are 5 subtopics here. And so anyway, my closing point is, for anyone that wants to clip this, like, I do not like his politics and I disagree with him, and I think that we'll continue to fight over it. I think the question then is, okay, how do you engage with that in a way that's healthy? And is it in a way that's like burn the witch? Is it a way that's ignore? Is it a way that's engage? Is it somewhere in between all of those things? And I think that is what the question is. And my view is, I think the most important part about this is like, how do you talk to, if you're the Democrats, to the people that listen to and trust him? And how do you build trust and gain trust with them without looking into the abyss and having the abyss look back into you, right? Without becoming him, without you yourself advancing views that are wrong or hateful or whatever. But like, how can you engage them without doing that? That's what I think that should be done. And I think that was kind of the crux of the differing views. So do you have a final comment, or should we let it go?
I think we can leave it there.
This is like your secret pod. For people who don't get the secret pod, Sarah and JVL argue. It's like the Bulwark has one voice. Sarah and JVL literally have an argument pod every week. And it's like the only thing we put behind the paywall, basically, as far as audio.
Only half of it.
All right, I think I'm done here. Now, I gotta say, I went on this far longer than I have any right to justify. And I don't know what possessed me to want to persevere through all of this and really see the entirety of the argument boiled down to essentially Hasan bad. No Democrat should associate with him or his ideas because his worldview is as odious as Nick Fuentes is. You know, the Hasan worldview is akin to an ethno-statist point of view. And then for Tim Miller to be like, well, no, I think, I don't think it's an ethno, I don't think he's as bad as that. And also, people should go on his show. It's frustrating because I feel like this conversation about like the political utility about going on someone's show as like a political candidate is relatively straightforward. And also, like for example, like no one gives Bernie Sanders shit for going on Fox News. Even though Fox News like routinely lies, routinely misrepresents facts, routinely misrepresents Bernie himself. But like Bernie Sanders goes on and he's just good and competent at, making his rhetorical points. And so he, is able to like win over even a Fox News audience or that is brought in to hear about Medicare for All. And so like the political calculus is pretty straightforward and the political utility is pretty straightforward. And so I don't think the argument is really on, any kind of utilitarian grounds. It's more just he's icky and I don't like him. I don't know. I think in any world where you're okay with someone going on Joe Rogan's show, but you're not okay with them going on Hasan Piker's show, I think that really just boils down to the fact that you don't want people exposed to Hasan Piker's ideas. And that any politician going on his show is going to increase Hasan's profile and also his status within the Democratic candidate and elected official community, I guess. Like you are legitimizing him into the mainstream by doing this, right? Personally, I think that's fine. But what's wild to me is they spent so little time talking about Hasan's points of view or like his arguments, and instead was just like, he said some things that seem gross and bad. And like, I'd be much more interested to know about like what they think his ideology is. But what I find fascinating about this is that they didn't even have the impulse to articulate what his ideas are. Because I think that they are largely both of these people, Tim and Sarah, both find Hasan's ideas dangerous. And so I think there is like a quiet agreement to not talk about them in depth, to not talk about the reason why people gravitate towards his content. It's not just because he happens to be a guy who talks a lot. It's because he's a guy who consistently advocates for working class policies, who advocates for the marginalized and the oppressed, who is vocally anti-US imperialism. And like, they don't articulate any of that or discuss why any of that is resonant right now. And I think that's interesting. It's interesting in its omission. I think it says a lot about the degree to which they are honestly engaging with him as a content creator Because, like, if you want to have an unbiased discussion of him and his ideas, it seems pretty weird to leave out, like, main point of his ideas. And that is what then with that omission, you then have, like, the capability of saying, well, he's just like Dick Fuentes, he's just like Tucker Carlson, without fully articulating their ideologies either. So it's interesting. I probably could have condensed all of this down into like a, I don't know, 1 hour long response, but I did want to like work through it with you guys live. And I thought that was pretty fun. Any Hasanabi heads here? Probably. There's like a fair amount of cross-pollination. I just got to embrace my inner rat, had to crawl about inside a wall. Oh no. People say his audience is all Gen Z young men, but plenty of Evelyns love him too. I don't know what Evelyns means, but yes, a bunch of different kinds of people really like Hasan. It's not just Gen Z, or Gen Alpha. Like it's a lot of different people watch him. Like a lot of people who watch me are all across like age, gender, demographics. Like there's a bunch of different kinds of people who watch me. And like that's cool. But again, I'm 64 and I like Hasan. Yeah, he's a very likable guy. And he has relatively good politics. Don't agree with him on everything, but he has relatively good politics. And I'll take Hasan over the lobbyist who's in favor of drunk driving any day of the week. I'm confused about what I am. 1995. I'm 30. I think that qualifies like a young millennial. I don't know. Yes, I don't agree with him on China. That's true. I don't agree with him on his like a lot of his foreign policy takes. But anyway, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Comments longer than 8 words really help in the algorithm. And get fucking organized, because I can tell you one thing, guys. These two chuckle nuts, they're getting organized. Okay, they've got money. They're getting people together. I guarantee you, they have pull and they have the ability to mobilize unsuspecting normies. And that's why you guys need to get involved in your local political arena. You need to jump into your local Democratic Party so they don't take it over with neocon Republicans or never Trump Republicans, okay? Join your local Democratic Party, keep them from taking over, pass pro-worker stuff in your city, pass, we've been talking a lot about the Montana plan, push that on the state level. You can do that when you get involved with your local political party. There's no reason why every state in this country shouldn't be pushing for removing corporate money out of donations out of politics. The Montana plan from the Transparent Election Initiative shows the way.
Long way out, but do you think the establishment Democrats even want a presidential election primary? Feels they don't and just want to insert Newsom or something and are trying to prime people for it.
No, the Democrats are going to have a legendarily large primary. There is no fucking way this number of self-interested and self-obsessed assholes, and I do mean that. Like there are some good candidates on the horizon, but there are a lot of self-interested assholes preparing to throw their hats into the ring. They are not going to clear the field because it's just any one of their turns. They're going to have a brutal throwdown. Did Miller do something wrong? No, Miller was weirdly hinged during this. I'm not a fan of Tim Miller because like he's a Republican. Like he's a never Trump Republican. And I think that that's valuable in some ways, but when it comes to like his political analysis of someone like Hasan, I think it's pretty flawed. Like he worked for Jeb Bush. The Bulwark is like a group of highly conservative people who have worked in conservative politics as consultants for most of their careers. And as far as like that kind of a person goes, Tim's probably the best of the bunch. But Balls Deep 6969, thank you for the $20 super chat. Get involved in your local elections, folks. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA. If you need help getting onboarded to either of those, you don't know where to start, don't know how to take your first step, join our Discord, !Discord in any of the chats for a link. Join the Discord. And Reach out to Dragonfly for help with your local Dems. Reach out to GamerG for help with your local DSA. Also, folks, you can find them usually right over here at riverboat.gg during the stream if you don't want to figure out Discord or whatever. Also, last but not least, check out ImogingOlivia.com. It's gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Also tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It's really comfortable, non-tuck lingerie. So check it out. Link down in the description. It's sexy, it's elegant, and it fits. So go check that out. And with all that being said, folks, let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.